Story 1. So some background. I'm 32, live in the UK, and have 2 sons. I also have a very, very low tolerance for political correctness and zero tolerance for people getting involved in things that don't bother themselves. My son, one is 6 and the other is 4 weeks old. My oldest son is deaf, wears hearing aids but mainly lip reads, and because of this when I go to the shops with him, I don't wear a face mask as otherwise I can't communicate with him. When I'm on my own, no problem wearing a mask though. So Saturday, I took both my sons out to the shops to give my wife some peace and some time to sleep as our youngest had had a rough night's sleep. So we went to our local Sainsbury's supermarket to get some bits to make pizzas in the evening. I have my lanyard on and the door staff don't even question it. We are walking down the cold meat aisle to get some toppings for pizzas when a middle-aged woman, probably mid-50s, comes up to me and says the following to me. I think what you're doing is disgusting. I look around to see who she could be talking to. No one else around, so I respond, Are you talking to me? Yes, you. How dare you walk around with no face mask on? I have a lanyard on. I'm exempt from love. What kind of example are you setting for your children? Not that I should need to explain myself to you, but my son is deaf and lip reads. How is he meant to lip read with me wearing a mask? It's disgusting. I'll be speaking to the manager. Then her partner husband arrived, and he heard the end of our discussion. He proceeds to say, I told you, Karen, the boy is wearing hearing aids and will most likely lip read. At this point, my youngest has woken up screaming, either hungry or wanting a change. My final words to this woman were, I'm glad you're wearing your face mask. She looked all confused, so I explained, because it hides your hideous, ugly face. And I casually walk off. All I hear is her saying to her partner husband, Are you going to let him talk to me like that? He replies, I told you the boy was wearing hearing aids and the dad has a lanyard on, but you didn't listen. That's all on you. We finished up our shop and carried on with our day. After the shops, we went to the park so my oldest can run around and play and tire himself out a little. Just as we were getting ready to leave the shops, my wife calls me asking me to grab some more milk and milk formula. So back to Sainsbury's we go. Same again, no mask, lanyard on, no problem from the store staff. I get milk and baby formula and we head to the tills. We go to the 5 items or less till. There is a man in front of me who has done the same as me. Brought the kids out of the house so my wife can have a break. 2 kids very similar age to mine. He has milk baby formula nappies wipes and some bacon on the belt. His oldest asks if he can have a chocolate bar and of course the dad says yes. The boy goes to get a chocolate bar and puts it on the belt when all of a sudden Karen behind me pipes up. She says to the cashier she would like to speak to the manager as soon as possible. The cashier is no more than 18 and just grabs the manager. Karen waits for the manager to come over all while tapping her foot on the ground. Manager, yes ma'am. What seems to be the problem? This man has 6 items. This is 5 items or less. I hear this and turn around and say, Are you serious? Other people turn around and start watching. Could almost hear popcorn being made in excitement. This man has items for his baby and his son wants a chocolate bar, and you're complaining about this small boy having a chocolate bar as it goes over the 5 items. Yes, it's 5 items or less, and these are 6 items. I snapped. Me, very loudly, by a show of hands. Who here wants this boy to have his chocolate bar? There was a show of hands and a few cheers. Who here votes that this is a miserable old bat and needs to lighten up and jog on? The people around were like, Oh no, he went there. She didn't respond to this. The store staff had smiles on their faces, but obviously couldn't say anything. I took the chocolate bar from the man's items and put it on mine, so I had 3 items. Me. Are you happy now? This man only has 5 items and I have 3. Do you have a problem with this? No response from her. The dad in front was very grateful, and his oldest, even more, for his chocolate. The Karen stood in silence as we left. I would say I wish her a good day and hope she lightens up, but that would be a lie. I came home to a refreshed wife and told her what happened, and she was in tears. If she had been with me, she would have stopped me as she gets embarrassed easily. Moral of the story: concern yourself with yourself and don't deprive a young child of a treat because you are a Karen. Story 2. I work at a white-collar job and have a small group of employees who report to me. One of my direct reports, I'll call her nice colleague, and I had a meeting with a prospective client at their office, since our conference room smells like feet for some reason, and we were coming back from the meeting when we decided to stop in the coffee shop across the street from the office to compare notes. The place was crowded, so we found a two-person high top in a corner, ordered 2 cups of coffee, and pulled out our laptops. After a while, we were done with our coffee and nice colleague had to use the restroom, so she offered to bring up our mugs and get us another cup. I said that was fine, but to get them to go since I didn't think we'd be there too much longer. I should probably mention that I'm dressed in a navy blue suit with a tie, and nice colleague is wearing black pants, a dark gray top, and heels. She leaves with mugs in hand, and I start dealing with emails that have come in. The cafe is still busy, and the 2 baristas behind the counter are busy taking orders and getting people's drinks. I zoned out for a bit while answering emails, but was suddenly brought back to reality when I noticed that someone was standing right next to me. When I look up, I see a woman who has been described as looking like a Karen on this sub-late 40s, that haircut, horrible taste in clothes, and nice colleague standing behind her looking exasperated. Then the following conversation took place. Nice colleague, here he is. Karen, you're her manager. I'm sorry? Are you her boss? Still having no idea what's going on, I say, sure, we're usually referred to as a team lead. She cuts me off. Whatever, I want her written up. We needed our table wiped down, and she ignored me 3 times. I've never had an experience where a server has looked right at me and then just completely ignored me. Don't you have any pride in your customer service? I look behind her to my nice colleague, who is rolling her eyes as Karen speaks. When I look back to the table Karen gestured to, I see an older gentleman who is quietly sipping his coffee across from a giant handbag. At this point, things start to click for me. Nice colleague walked up to the counter and dropped off the mugs, then went to the restroom, after which she went back to the counter to order our second cups. Karen must have thought she worked there since she was wearing darker colors, which is the standard uniform for a certain chain of coffee shops. However, this wasn't that coffee shop, and my colleague's clothes were obviously nice, go meet an important client type of clothes. And I don't know many baristas who wear heels on the job. Me? Well, we do value customer service, but cleaning tables isn't exactly her job. As I gesture towards the table with laptops and reports laid on it. Vertical bar if you want someone to help you. You can ask someone behind the counter. Karen, who is a bit confused, she doesn't work here. Vertical bar no, we work at Company X across the street. Vertical bar well, it's still rude to ignore people. I have had enough at this point. Ma'am, I'm sorry, but we were in the middle of something. If you'd like to discuss it further, you can email me. I hand her my business card with an impressive, but ultimately useless director title on it. Karen hesitates a bit longer as I make direct eye contact with her, before turning away in a huff and heading back to what I'm assuming was her husband. Poor guy. My nice colleague sets the coffees down and apologizes, which was unnecessary, but said that the woman grabbed her by the arm, almost spilling the coffee, and simply refused to believe that she didn't work there. So when she asked to see her manager, nice colleague thought, fine, let's go. We were there for a few more minutes before we decided to pack up. As we were leaving, I looked over to Karen's table to see her giving us a death stare. I waved. She quickly looked away. Never did get an email about it. Anyway, that's my tale. I hope you enjoyed it as much as the nice colleague enjoyed hearing me tell it to the office. And as they say on the IT crowd, people, what a bunch of jerks. Story 3. Hello everyone. Here is another story that happened when I was working as a restaurant manager in another country. At that time, I was managing a nice restaurant downtown. We had about 20 staff, waiters, bartenders, and cooks included. When I got there, everything was a total mess. The person who trained me barely knew how to make proper cocktails. Some staff, when not being busy, clearly used their cell phones on the floor. If you read my other stories, you may know that it is not something I really like. The bottles were covered in dirt, as well as shelves. Some people may not like my job, but as a manager, my job was to put that place back on track and make money. No sales means no salary for everyone. I started my job as always by learning about the staff, the environment, and got some news, which was that the restaurant was not doing well, and I was there to try to make it better for everyone, which means possibly, as our budget was tight, to decrease for now the number of working hours if necessary, and bring some change that people may not like. And of course, I am open to any ideas or suggestions, as I am just a human being, and I believe that the current staff know more than me. I gave some new working instruction, made some rules, basic rules such as no cell phone on the floor, greet customers with a smile, have a proper uniform, keep being busy, no need to run, but if you are not busy, reorganize and clean bottles, tables, refill salt, pepper, sauces, etc. Basic things that only a few people were doing. We made a new menu, way simpler and easy to understand. Same for the drink menu. We worked on social media and events as well. Within a few months, the restaurant was getting better. People loved the service, food, drinks, atmosphere, our new drink menu and food menu, etc. I hired a lot of new staff and trained everyone the same way. My purpose, as always, was to train bussers to slowly become waiters, for waiters to become bartenders, etc. I hired a lot of people with no experience, but who were motivated, and everyone met my expectations. Tips were awesome and staff were helping each other. The other side of that story is that I did not know so much about it, but I was falling into depression. I was basically living for work. I loved my job and my staff, but after a hard breakup, I just spent all my time working, having dinner at 3 and then falling asleep. My staff almost told me that I could just set a tent in the kitchen, as I was always there earlier than anyone and leaving the place last. I decided to tell my boss that maybe I would need to take some time off to find myself again. I may quit as soon as they find someone to replace me. The boss was a nice guy, but had no flair for finding the right people. Very nice, but very naive. There came the entitled bartender who got hired by the owner. The bartender just quit, a very nice position in a famous restaurant. He was always bragging about it and how much he brought into the business, and was looking for a manager position. I told him why not, but it would be better to start as a bartender first and to show me his skills. He started being a smug and told us that he knows how to make drinks, no need to waste any stuff. I told him it was okay, let's try to make some margaritas. It took him about 4 minutes to make one margarita, which is extremely slow. He told us that he did not practice for a while, but he'll get better next time. On his shifts, everyone noticed that he was barely trying to work and spent most of his time trying to speak to the owner about how to improve the place. He had amazing ideas, such as improving our social media, covering events, asking corporations and many famous people to come and eat at our place, etc. Not bad ideas, but he was just talking, not really doing things. He always managed to ask other bartenders to do his drinks, as he was too busy learning how to become a manager. I talked to the owner and told him that putting this bartender in charge would be a very bad idea. As a waiter or a bartender, he was extremely slow and not a team player. But he has great ideas, the owner replied. Great ideas, but he did not do anything yet since he arrived here. It has been about 6 weeks, and he barely knew our cocktail list. Give him some time, he'll get better. As you can guess, the bartender did not get better, and also started to show attitude towards me, as he knew that I was about to leave and he was sure to get my position anyway. He also yelled at other staff and stated that, as soon as he will be in charge, he will get rid of useless people like them. My staff reported the issue, and of course I take no mercy with people who dare to yell at my staff or any people. I'm a big yeller too, but I hate to yell. I basically told him that this behavior was totally inappropriate and he was no manager and had absolutely no right to yell at anybody, as he is just another newbie. It does not matter what his resume looked like. He just got smug again and just said that it did not matter as I would be leaving soon. More staff kept complaining about him. I asked the owner to print the bartender's resume. I wanted to do some digging. I contacted his former place and indeed, he did not quit. He was fired for insubordination and being rude to guests. I was invested in my job, but as nights went on, I knew that I was slowly falling into a depression and my body and mind really needed to get some time off. I really cared about my staff, so I organized a meeting with all the staff to go for a drink. We knew that the bartender would not show up, as he always declines everything. We got some drinks and talked about all our bad experiences, and then I went to the main subject. I told my staff that it would be better for them to start looking for potential new jobs. It was very common to have at least 2 jobs for most staff. If they did not know where or how to apply, I would help them and introduce them to some owners that I have met and would be looking for staff. I took on my time to introduce people and made sure that everyone else had a backup plan if something bad happened. My staff asked me if the reason I was leaving was because of the restaurant, and I said no. I liked that place and all the staff. However, I had to leave due to different reasons. Did not say that I was falling into depression. My staff organized a surprise party and I left the restaurant happy. The rest happened within the following months and I was not there, but most staff told me the same story. As expected, the bartender was made a temporary manager and showed his colors. He was basically a jerk. Step by step, he fired some of the staff and replaced them with his personal friends who needed a job. As time went by, his attitude was just getting worse and staff started to leave and use my contacts to get jobs. He never improved the business and lost money. He got fired after another altercation with the cooks. You do not mess with a cook. I was told he was literally kicked out, as the chef was totally furious and ready to roast the bartender. In one shot, he and his friends went jobless, as his friends were as entitled as him. As all my staff were working in places downtown, they saw the bartender applying for jobs around, and he was simply asked to take his resume back, and was not welcomed as a guest, nor as a worker, as all my staff reported that jerk to their managers and how the bartender treated people and ruined the business. And for bonus information, more than 6 months after being fired, another staff member told me that the bartender came to apply for a job at his restaurant. While checking his resume, it seems he hadn't been hired anywhere since he got fired. I still text my former staff from time to time, and everyone is doing great. The place I worked in closed since then, but everyone was able to move on, including some of my bussers who barely spoke English at the time, but managed to become bartenders later on. Story 4. I might only be 12 years old, but I have encountered my fair share of Karens in my days. I do have pretty bad memory, so I will tell you the newest one for accuracy tale. Here's some backstory on me. I am a weeb, a bit of a nerd, and an aspiring gentleman. By that I mean I dress nice, wear a hat, try to be as nice as possible to the people around me, and help if I can. This story plays out in Sweden at the beginning of summer break. My parents had told me about a library with a lot of manga in the middle of Stockholm. This is the second time I went there. The first time I fell in love with a cute girl, and also discovered a pretty nice candy shop about 15 minutes away. I was going back from the library and decided to go there. When I got there, there were 2 people there, a 10-year-old child and his uncle who were nice. The uncle was one of these nice ones that might get candy for their grandchildren, and are in general a little crazy. I was deciding what candy I wanted. I usually buy themed candy, like only red or only licorice, and I ask the nice kid and uncle for ideas. They help me and are very nice. Then another kid, about the same age as the other nice kid, comes in and runs around searching for some very specific kind of candy. I ask if I can help him, since I am an aspiring gentleman, not knowing he is an entitled kid. But he just screams, "They don't have it," and sits down crying. His entitled mom then comes in. I instinctively take 2 steps away along with the nice kid and uncle, as Karen tells her son that she'll talk to the manager so that he brings him the candy he wants. She then walks to the cashier and asks for the candy her son wants. He says the store doesn't have it, but then Karen screams, "Let me talk to your manager." The cashier guy tells her, "I'm sorry that we don't have the candy. I'd tell the manager, but sadly that's me." Karen leaves the cashier guy and starts complaining out into the air. Then the cashier guy straps on his face mask. I realize that there are 5 people in the store, a lot for such a small store. I tell them that I will wait outside until someone leaves due to social distancing. Then the nice uncle walks up to me and says that if anyone should leave the store because of social distancing or not, it should be Karen. I politely tell him that I can leave the store and that it's completely fine by me. I start walking to the exit, and then Karen punches me in the stomach. I fall backwards and hit a candy box, so a lot of candy falls over my face and the floor. I start apologizing to the owner and a nice kid and uncle as I start picking up the candy. Then the uncle walks over to Karen, and right as he is about to punch her, the owner stops him. He tells Karen to leave and that she is never welcome to the store again. Karen starts fuming. The uncle takes her by the shoulder, yeets her out of the door, tells her to get lost, and Karen leaves soon after. 5 silent minutes pass, and I apologize for the candy that fell out over the floor. I also offer to clean up, but the owner says that it's totally fine, lets me have my candy for free and says thanks. The nice kid and uncle left with me since we were all a bit shaken. Especially the kid. I ask him if it was his first encounter with a Karen, and he says that he watches YouTube videos about it. I ask him if he wants me to put this out on Reddit, and he says yes. That is the end of this story. Story 5. This story happened back in December, just after the colleges let out for the winter. I'm a teacher and my girlfriend is a grad student. So when she was done for the semester, I took a few days off from work and joined her for a vacation down to Virginia, where her parents live. It was the first time I was going to meet the whole family, and this is looking like a pretty serious relationship that might go all the way. We flew there from Newark on the United Express service, which is essentially a tiny tin can of an airplane where tall people can barely stand up. The seats are arranged 2 on one side and 1 on the other. Going there, we booked a 2-seater together, and the flight went off without a hitch. The trip was great, her family and I got along. We visited Busch Gardens and Virginia Beach, and I ate an unhealthy amount of Mongolian barbecue. But unfortunately, I had to fly back alone. She planned to stay a few weeks with her parents before school started again, and I had to get back to work on Monday. I don't like flying, and I especially don't like flying solo. I'm not a great sleeper at the best of times, so sleeping on a plane is out. I booked myself a single seat on the left for privacy, brought a decent amount of reading material, and assumed I would just be able to keep myself distracted for the 90-minute flight. Or so I thought. Cast. Me, tired of these Karens on this plane. Entitled mother, horrid beast who doesn't understand how planes work. Tired kid, around 8, was really fine, slept through most of this. Flight attendant who does not get paid enough for this. Old man who slept through most of this, provides a key cameo. So I settled into my solo seat near the front of the standard seating, and the old man behind me popped a few pills and immediately fell asleep. I'm distracting myself with magazines when I hear a bellow of, "It'll fit just fine." The entitled mother storms into the plane, pulling the kid with one hand and an oversized wheeled suitcase with another. She proceeds to huff and puff while shoving it into the overhead compartment, despite all of us being told that baggage space is limited and we should check all hard suitcases. She eventually crams it in, sits down with the kid, and the flight takes off. As soon as we get going, I turn on my overhead light and get back to reading. About 5 minutes later, I snapped out of my distraction. Entitled Mother, Sir? Sir. Me? Yes. You need to turn your overhead light off. My daughter and I are trying to sleep. Sorry, but I want to be able to read during this flight. It's only 6:30. Excuse me. I'll have you know my daughter and I have been traveling all weekend. We're both exhausted, and the least you can do is be a little accommodating. You're the only person on this flight with their light on. Well, sorry about that, but I can't really sleep on flights. I need this light. Okay, that's enough of that. She gets up out of her seat and quickly turns my light off, then sits back down with a smug smirk. I quickly turn the light back on. Do not touch my light again. Oh, really? We'll see what the authorities have to say about this. With another of her trademark smirks, she hits the flight attendant call button about 5 times in a row. I immediately get anxious. I'm not a white dude, Moroccan Jewish, to be exact, and any interaction with authority figures makes me nervous. But this is so absurd, I decide to see where it goes. I get back to reading as we wait for the flight attendant to get there. She shows up, a young woman who looks like she's had a long day. It's about to get longer. Flight attendant, can I help you, ma'am? Entitled Mother? Yes, you can. This horribly rude man won't turn off his overhead light, even after I told him how tired my daughter and I are. We have to fly to Cleveland tonight after this flight, and I think we deserve a little peace. Well, ma'am, everyone can use their light as they want, but let me see what I can do. She turns to me. Sir, would you mind turning out the light so she can sleep? Sorry, like I told her, I bought a solo seat so I could read. Just tell him to turn it off. He has to do what you say. Ma'am, we have blindfolds that you can use for you and your daughter to block out the light if you want. Those are probably filthy. No, they're individually wrapped and... Why are you making this so hard? Just make him turn it off. The flight attendant says to me, Sir, would you be willing to move seats so she's not bothered? We have some empty seats there. She points to a seat near the back next to another man. I'm catching a train after I get off, and I don't like the idea of being at the back, sorry. Especially as, pointed look upwards. Some people are likely going to be taking a while to get their luggage out. How dare you? You look like you belong in the back of the plane. Just get back there and stop bothering us. Now, I was kind of casually dressed and had a 4-day beard, but we all know what she really meant. My stubbornness and spite levels just went up over 9,000. Me. Pass. Also, nice racism. You know what I meant, you punk, she says to the flight attendant. Are you going to do something about this or not? Her kid wakes up. Mommy. Entitled Mother, look what you did. I'll have you know that my kid has a spelling bee on Monday, and you're depriving her of much-needed sleep. Then to the flight attendant. Now you go talk with someone with the authority to do something about this and get this punk out of my sight, or I'll have your job. Sir, it's not a long flight. Would you please? Me. I'm sorry, but I don't have a problem here. She does, and she's making this entire flight miserable. I don't think I should have to inconvenience myself to make her happy. Looking defeated, the flight attendant runs up to the front of the plane to talk to what I assume are the people in charge. The entitled mother snarls at me. You're in for it now. You'll be on the no-fly list after this. Lady, you're nuts. Get help. The flight attendant returns and immediately turns to me. The mother's eyes go wide with excitement. Sir, would you be willing to move up 4 rows? You'll be closer to the front that way, and it's another single seat. She doesn't say it, but I know this is the extra legroom section that you pay a little more for. Yes, I think that's fine. Wait, he gets a better seat. Why didn't you offer that to us? There's only single seats available up there, ma'am. This is ridiculous. He shouldn't get rewarded. He ruined our flight, and when we get to Newark, I will be informing your boss and the authorities, So you both get exactly what you. The old man startles the entire flight. For God's sake, lady, shut up. I'm trying to sleep. She shuts up after that, and I move to my new seat. I wish I could tell you this was some luxurious first-class digs, but this is a short-haul flight in a tin can. I had maybe 2 more inches of legroom, and I got my half cup of soda and my tiny bag of pretzels a few minutes early, but I was far away from the entitled mother. When the flight landed, I quickly grabbed my bag and got off, sneaking a look back as she held up the entire line trying to wedge her suitcase free from the tiny overhead compartment. We were about 20 minutes early to Newark, so I got a bagel before catching my train. I get to see the entitled mother barreling past, dragging the suitcase and her kid behind her, yelling that this airport is full of idiots and she doesn't know where to find her connecting flight. She catches sight of me at the bagel place. Entitled mother, you're a horrible person and I hope you go straight to hell. Me, good luck getting back to Cleveland. Don't come back. And that was the end of the story of Karen, the first scourge of airplanes. It ended without any police, property damage, or assault. But it certainly did nothing to make me appreciate flying more. Story 6. I'm a teen. This was around the same time last year. So the mother lives on the other side of town, and my city is fairly large and takes about 45 minutes to get from the one side where I live to her house. She saw me with a kid from another family I babysit for, and she asked me if I would be interested in watching her son while she grocery shops weekly. She seemed really nice at first, so I agreed to give her my contact info if she is still in need of babysitting at that time. She then proceeded to text me later that day with the worst punctuation and grammar possible. That was the first red flag. Fast forward to 7 o'clock at night when I was doing my homework. She said that she needed someone to take her kid immediately because she had just met and I quote, young smoking hot Tinder date, and proceeded to tell me that the kids will hurt her chances of getting laid. With a "you understand, right?" I'm sorry, lady, what? I'm in high school, I literally just met you, and you're telling me you need me to take your kid immediately at 7 o'clock at night, on extremely short notice, because you're going for some guy that's 20 years younger than you. That's another red flag. So being the nice person I am, I agreed to watch the kids at an arcade near their house, while the mom is off with this guy. My mom had to drive me almost a 90-minute return trip because this woman didn't offer to. I got to the arcade and the kid was sitting outside. Mom was nowhere to be seen. Red flag. So I took the kid inside, introduced myself, and started playing games. His mom had given him about $50, and that ran out after about an hour. Mom wasn't back by then, so I let him use my spare 30. I kept on me after asking his mom if that was okay. We were having fun. He actually is a really nice kid despite his mother. But at about 10, I started to get nervous. The place closes at 10:30, so I texted the mother, and she said to take him home because she ended up going to the guy's house. Red flag. She gave me the address, so I took him home and he got in bed. The mom came stumbling in at 3 in the morning, so I told her that he's in bed. I charge about $10 an hour, especially because it was really late notice. This brings her total to about $1.90 plus the $1.30 extra that she agreed to. Here's the entitled part. She then told me that this was a trial run to see if I was a good babysitter. That being a single mother is extremely exhausting. And told me that she won't be paying more than $4 per hour in the future at the most, and that she won't be paying $1.90 this time because she doesn't have the right denominations. What kind of excuse is that? She said it would be an honor to work for her since she paid for the arcade, and that I should be grateful that I got experience with kids. Excuse me? I just watched your kid on a school night until 3 a.m. for almost 10 hours, and you're not going to pay me. I kindly reminded her that I had used $30 of my own because she didn't pick her kid up on time. She gave me a 20, dismissed me, and I had to call my mom at 3:30 to come pick me up. She was not happy. I haven't heard from her since. If you're going to comment, call Child Protective Services. First of all, this happened a year ago, and second, I just looked her up on Facebook. She and the boy moved away, and she has had addiction problems with both heroin and alcohol for the past year. Due to someone's reports of abuse against the mother, the child has been placed in another family's home as a foster, and they are hoping to adopt him. I hope all the best for the boy and this new family. Glad nothing else came of that one night.